Hi, and welcome to our daily video devotions for April 8th, 2020. I was struck this morning as I was reading the lectionary texts for today by the last couple of words of one of them. This is from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who, for the sake of the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of God. Consider him who endured such hostility against himself from sinners, so that you may not grow weary or lose heart. As this time of quarantine and social distancing and dealing with this pandemic goes on, I don't know about you, but I know there have been times when I have started to feel myself growing weary and losing heart. It just seems to keep going on and on and on. And I know that for a lot of people, it is much more taxing than it is for me. I have friends who are single parents, not able to go to work, worrying about their finances and how their children are going to be cared for. I know moms who are home all day with 3 or 4 kids and pulling their hair out trying to keep their kids entertained and safe during this time, and trying to make the best decisions they can as parents. I know dads who are just sick with worry about bringing something home because they're essential employees and need to go to work. And the list goes on and on and on. So I think I personally need to say from the get-go that I've got it really easy compared to a lot of people. And so to me, it's completely understandable that we might be growing weary at this point, and we might be starting to lose heart, especially as the news comes in day after day after day of people who've been stricken with the coronavirus and people who've died of it. The author of Hebrews opens the 12th chapter of his letter by mentioning that we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, and then encouraging his audience to keep their eyes on those witnesses and on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, as he puts it, and to consider the hostility that Jesus endured, so that we might not grow weary or lose heart. I think that's good advice, and I think particularly in Holy Week, it is fitting and appropriate that we would think about the hostility that Jesus endured. But actually today, what I find more compelling in this reading is that first line, that we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. The witnesses that the author of Hebrews is talking about are some of the great heroes of the Old Testament, some of the great heroes of the people of Israel, people like Abel and Enoch, Abraham and Moses, Gideon, some of the people who were not only close to God's heart, but also endured through times of trial and struggle and stress. He gives a list here in Hebrews chapter 11 of over a dozen people who survived all sorts of hostility, all sorts of trials, and remained faithful. I think it's helpful for us sometimes to remember those people. And I think it's also helpful for us to remember that they are right here surrounding us in the here and now, in the great communion of saints that we acknowledge every time we recite the creed. Those people are here with us. In the great communion of saints, we are surrounded not only by Jesus and by holy angels, we are surrounded by Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. We are surrounded by Rahab and Ruth. We are surrounded by Peter and James and John, by Lydia, by Mary Magdalene, by Mary and Martha of Bethany. We are surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses down through the centuries. They are here with us. And I don't know about you, but for me, it makes me feel a little bit better about the challenges that we are enduring. For one, it gives me some perspective to recognize that the challenges that we are facing today are certainly nothing new for God's people. And it also is helpful for me to remember that we are not alone. I know I keep coming back to that, but I think it's an important theme for us to remember in this time. If you remember all the way back in Genesis, when God created everything, God creates the garden and the animals and everything that is, the earth and everything in it, and then he creates man. And then he looks at him and says, it's not a good idea to leave him alone. It is not good that he should be alone. What that tells me is that from the very beginning, you and I were created as communal beings. We were created to be in fellowship and relationship with God and with one another, to be able to lean on each other in times of trial. For there are times when each of us feels weak or weary or faint of heart. And in those times, we can rest on that great cloud of witnesses to pull us through. We can lean on their strength to get through to the time when we are strong again and can share our strength and hope with others. So wherever you find yourself today, know that there is a place for you in that great cloud of witnesses. If you are feeling weary and faint of heart, that's okay. That great cloud of witnesses surrounds you to uplift you and sustain you. And if you are feeling good and strong and firm in your faith today, then perhaps God is calling you to be that rock that someone else can lean on. That's the beauty of this great cloud of witnesses, this communion of saints that we share. None of us has to be strong all the time. And when we're not strong, there are others who can be strong for us. May God bless you and yours this day. Continue to hold all of you in my prayers. May God watch over you until we are together again. Amen.